All right, welcome back, True Seeker. Opening up for another debate. There's a frequent type of comment I get for my videos, and just to show you an example, another one was left today, but similar comments have been left 1,000 times. For anyone who has the same sentiment that this person here does, Kenpachi Zaraki, again, he watches the video and he writes, the Jesuits. Yeah, it's pretty plain to see all those Jesuits that own the banks, Hollywood, MSM, big tech, big pharma, music industry, porn industry, the creators of Marxism, communism, modern psychology, and that pesky Abrahamic cult that spread their ideas all over the world. Sarcasm off. And again, these comments are left all the time. And you know, the people who leave them don't know who the Jesuits are, because if they did, they wouldn't even leave such a comment. They don't realize that the Jesuits were largely created by Jews who converted to Catholicism. But again, these are the same type of people who just go around and say, oh, everything's Israel. Everything is Israel. And it's like, well, who was running the show before Israel? And it's funny how the same Jesuit fingerprints are all over the creation of Israel. So again, it's hard to even speak in terms of facts these days, because I recently did a video saying it wasn't right for Kanye West to blame Jews. He needed to be more specific in who he blamed. And to be more specific, you should pinpoint the Jesuits, who aren't just Jewish. They do have other people of other faith in their order. Ultimately, the Jesuits serve the Pope and the Catholic Church. But again, their origins are of Jews who converted to Catholicism during the time of the Protestant Reformation. So again, for a guy like Kenpachi, it's obvious the Jesuits run the show. And, you know, their little code is encoded into pretty much everything you named. I mean, you start to look at these big tech companies, these mainstream media companies, the porn industry, you'll find the Jesuit fingerprints all over the place. But here, just to speak on current events, let's just look at things from the last handful of days, because again, this is the same type of stuff that goes on every week. You had the Brittney Griner situation, clear Jesuit ritual, as we've been pointing out from day one when the news broke. Catastrophic Contagion, the mainstream media shed light on this latest pandemic simulation put on by the same people who did Event 201 and Cladex, all of which were spearheaded by Jesuits. You have the Artemis 1 moon landing, clear Jesuit ritual, and as predicted, the Houston Rockets upset the Bucks on that day, just like how the Rockets have upset every day that Artemis 1 was a headline. And not to mention, in the most recent ritual, the coach of the Rockets, Stephen Silas, his father Paul Silas died the same day. In the Bible, there's a story of Paul and Silas being freed from prison. And consider Paul Silas dies right after Brittney Griner's freed from prison. That's in the book Acts, the 44th book of the Bible. Acts 7:6 is about slavery. Number 44, Obama elected 44 years after the Civil Rights Act, Mr. 76. And there's a picture of Paul Silas holding up 76 right there. We'll talk about Patti LaBelle being escorted off the stage due to a bomb scare in Jesuit town, Milwaukee, where Marquette is, in a clear Jesuit ritual. And of course, we're in the time of Sagittarius, where JFK was also killed in a once very clear Jesuit ritual. And for all the people who say, well, what about who runs the banks? Again, who are the original bankers? The original bankers in this world are Templars. And who did the Templars serve? The Catholic Church. And who has the Templar cross in their logo at this day and age? Oh, the Jesuits. So again, the point of my work is to shed light on what's really going on in the world and bring people out of their ignorance. And there's people that are suffering from all kinds of ignorance, including the people who just run around and just say, oh, just blame Jews and blame Israel. That's what it is. It's like, well, is every Jew responsible? I mean, it's ridiculous. No. And I'm not saying that every last Jesuit's responsible either. I mean, technically, if you get a Jesuit education, it makes you part of the Jesuit family, but we're pointing to the Jesuits who are in high places, the Klaus Schwabs, the Anthony Faucis, the Donald Trumps, the Joe Bidens, the Gavin Newsoms, the Cuomos, et cetera, et cetera. So here, let's just go through all these recent headlines and see how obvious it is that these are all Jesuit rituals. Recall when Biden offered the swap for Brittney Griner for Victor Bout It was from the day that the news broke about Brittney Griner. They said her detainment began February 17th, but the mainstream coverage of the story began March 5th. From the day the news broke about Brittney Griner to the negotiated trade was 144 days later. And of course, President Biden and Jesuit order and Gematria, which is a Jewish practice, both equal 144. And recall the day the Brittney Griner news broke about her being detained. Again, that was March 5th. The article read, the WNBA also expressed concern for Griner's safety and well-being at this time. On behalf of the 144, we send out love and support, the union said in a statement. And the reason they call themselves the 144 is because that's how many players are in the league. Okay, so Paul and Silas in the Bible in Acts, they escape from prison, or they're released from prison. Paul Silas dies right after Brittney Griner is released from prison. And Paul and Silas are put in prison because in Rome, they take a woman who's a fortune teller, which Paul doesn't like, and he casts the spirit out of her that allows her to tell fortunes. And people are upset by that because they like that this woman was a fortune teller. Paul came in and ruined the show, so him and Silas get put in prison. And anyhow, Paul Silas just died. He went to Creighton, the Jesuit school. Creighton has the gematria of 144 like Jesuit order, and he dies while the school is 144 years old. And we just covered this yesterday. From Paul Silas's birthday to his death was his 153rd day of his age. Again, gematria is based on the alphabetic order forwards and backwards. Jesuit order 144, 153. We're going to see how this factors in with the catastrophic contagion, the latest pandemic simulation. But just to remind you, again, Trump, or not, well, might as well have been Trump. What's the difference? They're all Jesuits. Biden negotiated the prisoner swap. And remember, Jesuit Georgetown simulated the election before Biden won. And before this simulation even happened, we said why Biden would become number 46 in the election 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday. Again, Catholic equals 46, 46 books in the Old Testament. Beau Biden dead at age 46 in a big Catholic ritual. The only Catholic president before Biden, JFK, killed at age 46. And again, for all the people who say that Jews control everything, if that's true, then why aren't we on a Jewish calendar? Why are we telling time by a Catholic calendar? Why are we on the Gregorian calendar named after a pope? Again, I do expect the people who constantly leave these comments to participate in the debate. Otherwise, I'm just going to assume that the only people who ever leave comments like that are trolls. You know, it's weird how nobody ever wants to come on and debate. They want to leave comments, but nobody wants to debate. But again, Jesuit Georgetown simulated the election that Biden would narrowly win, Trump would refuse to step down, and it would lead to deadly chaos in America. That simulation was 144 days before the election, like Jesuit order and President Biden are 144. And, you know, Patti LaBelle in Milwaukee, which again is Jesuit town, because one of the nation's 27 Jesuit universities there, Marquette. But Patti LaBelle dressed in the red and black for the ritual. And notice what day she's born. She's born on the 144th day of the year, and she's 78 years old right now. Jesuit order 144, Jesuit 78. And then the other big Jesuit number is 201. This bomb scare happened on her 201st day of her age. Remember last year we were talking about the ritual with Waukesha, Wisconsin, the big 201 Christmas parade tragedy with the Jesuit-educated Marquette mayor overseeing it. Talking about the same rituals with the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. You had the Jesuit lawyer, you had the Jesuit judge, same numbers all over all these things. But Patti LaBelle, born on the 144th day of the year, 78, on her 201st day of her age, how's this happen? National headline, just put more fear porn out there in the holiday season. You know? Just a couple weeks back, Trump got reinstated on Twitter by the Jesuit puppet Elon Musk. We were somehow Jesuit 78, so was Tesla. I remember when he was declared the richest man in the world on the 78-year anniversary of the death of Nikola Tesla. But when did Jesuit puppet Elon Musk reinstate Jesuit puppet Trump? On November 19th, 144 days after his birthday, you know? And don't forget that he made the offer to buy Twitter at $54 a share on April 14th, 14/4, same day in history that Lincoln was shot. And the one man left out of the history books is the Jesuit John Surratt, whose mother was executed for the assassination. Lincoln, who blamed the Civil War on the Jesuits. Again, the Protestant Reformation was against the Catholic Church and Judaism, which is what brought the Jesuits into being, the alliance essentially between the Catholics and Jews, who a lot of Europeans were going after. And sadly, we now live in an age where the Jesuits run big tech, and just for talking about history, they take you down for hate speech, no matter how factual it is. And again, like we've always said, the moon landing happened on the 201st day of the year, Neil Alden Armstrong 201. There's a whole lot more to that, but how about this historic moon mission ending 144 days after the anniversary? And then on the same day, the Rockets, coached by Stephen Silas, upset, and his dad's dead, Paul Silas. Again, I talked about this in the video before the game was played. Congrats to those who took advantage and won. And also, don't overlook that Silas wore 35 for the Celtics. You can't get more Catholic than Boston or the Celtics. The word Catholic equals 35 forwards, 46 in reverse, like JFK number 35, killed at 46. What day did the Brittney Griner story start? March 5th, 3-5. And then they said she'd been in detainment since Michael Jordan's birthday, February 17th. By the way, that date's written 17/2. Jesuit motto, ad merum Dei gloriam, equals 172. And then also the other big buzz, because the media just shined a spotlight on it, you had the catastrophic contagion pandemic simulation that's set in 2025, just like SPARS, put on by the Johns Hopkins, which is led right now by a Jesuit-educated man from Georgetown. You know, CDC, all these institutions, just the long Jesuit history. But look at this. Take a look at this. So here's the three big simulations. You have Clade X, May 15th, 2018, 2 years to the day of Jesuit Trump giving his Operation Warp Speed declaration. And then you have Event 201. Event 201. Well, look at this. Actually, hold on. We'll come back to that point, but look at this. In the latest simulation, catastrophic contagion, it's supposed to be something that's even more deadly than COVID-19 is how they refer to it. So in light of this coming on the back of COVID-19, the first case of COVID-19 in the world is supposedly confirmed November 17th, 2019. So from that day to this simulation, which plays on the COVID-19 pandemic, exactly 153 weeks later. And then you had the first case in the US, January 15th, 2020, in Bill Gates' backyard, who was also a member of this simulation. You can see him there in the photo. And let's not forget, he was married to Melinda, who's from a family of Jesuit priests. And let's not forget how they synced up Event 201 with her. 65 million dead in the simulation when pandemic equals 65, and it was given on her 65th day of her age. The vaccine went live while Bill Gates was 65. Pandemic 65 forwards, 151 in reverse. The first case in the U.S. on 15/1 in Bill Gates' backyard, Seattle, the land of the big needle, the space needle. But notice from that first case in the U.S. to the simulation, 144 weeks and days. 153 weeks on the nose from the first case, 144 weeks and days from the other case. Started out this with Paul Silas. Dead while his university is 144, dead on his 153rd day of his age. And, then just for other things, the name of the event where they did this was the Grand Challenges Annual Meeting, which has Gematria 266 and 122, like Jesus Hominum Salvator, the Jesuit motto. Pope Francis equals 122. He's the 266th Pope, the first Jesuit, first to live in Suite 201. This was in Brussels, Belgium, which equals 95, like the Jesuits created to counter the 95 Theses. Belgium also equals 33, like the acronym for the virus in this, SEERS, like Bill Gates. And they did this simulation 33 weeks and 3 days after the WHO leader's birthday. And again, the Jesuit who's the head of the Johns Hopkins, who's the main sponsor for this, Tom Inglesby, where did he go to school? Oh, he went to Georgetown. Go figure. And if you watch the preview for this, they got GN MeServe doing the fake news broadcast again. It's just like Cladex and Event 201. And yeah, again, they have it set in 2025, just like the SPARS pandemic. But your argument for it's not the Jesuits is where? If you got one, again, I'm going to go out and see who's ready to debate. And what do you know? In the room to debate is no one. Weird. No one is in the room to debate. What do you know? No one is here to debate again. If you guys want to debate, the top pin post for all the people who leave the comments, just like the one we read at the beginning. Here, we'll go back and read the comment one more time, because this same comment from 1,000 different people has been left before. The Jesuits, yeah, it's pretty plain to see all those Jesuits that own the banks, Hollywood, MSM, big tech, big pharma, music industry, porn industry, the creators of Marxism, communism, modern psychology, and that pesky Abrahamic cult that spread their ideas all over the world. Again, ignorance isn't bliss. Ignorance is going to keep you sounding like a moron. And again, it's amazing how many people leave these comments because all they want to do is just say Jew and Israel. You know what state of Israel equals? 201, like the Jesuit order, like Ignatius of Loyola, like how the founder died 201 days after the anniversary of its establishment, and that's David Ben-Gurion, whose name equals 145, like Catholic, like the 145 more chapters in the Catholic Old Testament than the Protestant Old Testament, like Israel's date of establishment, 14/5. Again, somebody better tell me why we're not on the Jewish calendar if the Jews run the world. Somebody should get in here in the debate room and tell me why. Oh, God. I believe this guy was on last night, but I can't remember what he was about. Let's see. Craig P. Craig P comes on and drops out just like that. Some of you guys would rather call the phone. What's so bad about joining the link? You don't have to put your face on the screen, and then you're connected through your phone. Okay, if anybody wants to debate through... oh, shout out to Kayla Decode Talker. Kayla's out there, and she knows that WNBA, the acronym in Francis Bacon, also equals 144. You know what, you guys, just while I'll wait to see if anybody comes in the room, one of the most interesting things that ever happened while I was driving for Uber and Lyft, again, I did it for 3 months, and I picked up the woman who was second in command of the WNBA at the airport, and she was running late, and she was in a big hurry, and she asked me to put the pedal to the metal because she needed to get to the Seattle Storm game. Of course, the Storm are one of the big foundational franchises for the WNBA, and I was telling her all about rig sports and gematria, and she was just mind-blowing. And what was funny is even though she needed to get to the game, she didn't want to get out of the car when we got to the stadium. She wanted to sit there and keep talking to me. And I gave her my phone number, and she said she'd be in contact. Well, that was the thing that was funny. She actually never got back to me. But I still remember the day. She was in a hurry to get to the game. She was running late, but then we were in the stadium. She didn't want to get out of the car. I kept telling her more and more about rig sports, and at the time, I hadn't really done any research on the WNBA, so I said to her, I don't know if your league's the same way. I've never looked into the WNBA. But here we are. That was in the beginning of 2018, or spring of 2018. 4 years later, it's clear the WNBA is doing the same type of stuff. And hey, by the way, Kayla Decode Talker, she's got her own Patreon going now. She was killing the WNBA with her decodes. All right, Craig P came back. Craig P, did you come here to debate?
Nah, man, I wrote in yesterday after that dude. Yeah, I'm part of the community, man. I ain't hell no.
Yeah, I can't hear you. It sounds like you're talking through like a wall. What are you saying?
Can you hear me better?
That's better.
Yeah, I'm not here to debate. No, I'm just after that dude yesterday. The fucking dude that whispering and shit.
Yeah, we don't even talk about him. That was mental illness. So.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Because you said I called yesterday. You know what I was about. So I was just trying to refresh your memory. That's all.
Sure. Yeah, but I do want to have
that's
people
what I was.
who want to debate. So that's what this one's about. But you can come back up for the next stream that we do. But I got somebody else in the room. I'm hoping they want to debate. So thanks for being a part of the community, Craig. Appreciate it. All right. Do we have a debater here in Zen York? Zen York, you're on.
Hey, Zach, can you hear me?
Your volume's really quiet, but I can hear you barely.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but your volume's still super quiet. There's better. I'm louder through the feedback on whatever you're doing than your actual voice.
Can you hear me now?
Are you just say what you want to say instead of keep whispering and with all this huge feedback? It's already getting annoying. Just say what you want to say. I don't want to talk because there's so much feedback. I don't know why you sound like a whisperer and it's all feedback from me on your end.
Yeah, but let's talk properly. You're pretty choppy through this StreamYard. Can I call one of your phone numbers?
The phone number is already put out there. Call the phone number. Like, what is wrong with people? How come he's coming through in whispers and I'm blasting through on his feedback while he's got his video playing? It's just like, come on, man. But yeah, you guys, it's just so annoying because the videos aren't reaching new people. And seemingly the only people who leave comments are trolls who leave the same idiotic comments, but then we can't get somebody to come in here and have a proper debate. Videos like this should have like literally 100 million views. I mean, I don't know how you could just watch what I presented and not be like, wow, I need to look more into this. And so people are like, what's the point of knowing this? As they're fooled by the mainstream media. Zen York, instead of calling the phone, then joins the stream again. All right, here, let's see if this guy can debate. Lucas.
Zach, how you been? We talked, I think it was over a year ago on your other channel when we talked about...
Yeah, you're on. What's up, Lucas?
Oh, yeah, it's feedback on my end with headphones. I don't know why. Oh, so what do you think of the Knights of Malta? Do you think that they're connected to the Vatican and part of the...
Obviously, they're another order of the Catholic Church. How would they not be connected to the Vatican?
What's it called? Yeah. Well, I just learned about the Knights of Malta. I never knew that actually they're the ones who've really controlled everything. Because I originally thought it was just the Vatican and what's it called? The Jesuits were all connected.
They're all related. The Knights of Malta are another order of the Catholic Church.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say that they have more clout than the Jesuits. Why would you say that you think they're more in charge than the Jesuits are?
Because when Saint Francis of Assisi, from the movie I saw when I was a kid with my mom and everyone, because he was against not only the Knights of Malta, but the Knights Templar at the same time, back in the Crusades days.
Okay. I don't feel like that's a good argument for why that they're more prominent than the Jesuits. But again, it's kind of like splitting hairs because they serve the Catholic Church, and ultimately that's who the Jesuits serve.
Okay, well, it was nice talking to you again, Zach, since last year.
Okay, take care, Lucas.
Yep.
Okay. But yeah, the Knights of Malta are... Eric 777 was recently doing a video how Fauci is a Jesuit and he's also a member of the Knights of Malta. So again, but debating over which one is more powerful. Again, they both serve the same power structure, the Catholic Church. Okay, Zen York came back. He said he wanted to call in, but he keeps coming back here. Zen York, I don't know why you don't call in.
Hey Zach, it's all right. We'll just chat here. I'm trying to call. It's just not connecting. So the first thing, right? You're an awesome dude, man, and I'm very happy that I found you. I've known about Gematria for a while, but what you're doing is great. So don't take anything I say as a hit on you or a kill shot or anything like that. That's not what I'm doing, right? It's
Just get to the point.
Okay, Zach. All right. So do you know what a crypto Jew is? Have you ever heard that phrase?
Of course.
Okay. Now you do concede that the Jesuits are Jews and you say Christians as well, correct?
There's Muslims in there. There's atheists in there. There's a lot of people in the Jesuit network.
Primarily, right, when we talk about crypto Jews, we're talking about Kabbalists. So that's what they are. They're Kabbalists, right? They practice the clip-off, which is the inverted tree of life in the Kabbalah, right? So they do come out of this Judaic, Abrahamic idea, right? That's what Kabbalah is, and you know you can even trace Kabbalah back to the Sumerians. So it's not really originally Hebrew, right? It goes even further back. But that's what they're doing. They're practicing black magic. They're Kabbalists. Christians today, Zach, don't know jack shit about magic. Okay, they just don't. They read the Bible. It's like you say, they wait for Jesus to come down on the white horse, which is really Apollo. That's Apollo's white horse, you know. But they're not Christians. They don't give a shit about Christianity. And I'm not a Christian. I'm not here, you know, saying I'm a Christian, but the Jesuits, the Pope, you know, the Vatican, you know, they're just Christian in label only. They're Kabbalists. That's what they are. And that is more closely linked to the Jews, right, of millennia ago, right? The Jews today don't even practice like that.
So is Joe Biden Jewish?
Joe Biden's an idiot, right? Joe Biden doesn't even know what a crypto Jew is, or the history of the Jesuits, or the history of the American Republic, right? So Joe Biden's a figurehead, and everyone in this chat knows Joe Biden's a figurehead, right? But I get you saying Jesuits, and that's okay, but take the next step. They're Kabbalists, and they practice clip-off. They're working black magic.
Well, you're not making any sense to me, since I always talk about Kabbalists and the clip-off. So why are you coming on and saying things that I always talk about? Wouldn't be surprised if you learned about it on my channel.
Yeah, but they're crypto Jews. Because you dog on Christians a lot, man. Every Christian that I've met has been a good person. Right? You're everyday Christian. It's the same thing.
What you're doing is you're ignoring that they're not all Jews. That again, the people who are pulling the wool over the eyes are people like Joe Biden and Donald Trump. They're not Jews.
Yeah, and I'm not arguing that point. I agree with that point. They're not all Jews. You got atheists. I would even take the next step and say you have these Kabbalists. They all practice Kabbalah. They're practicing the clip-off, which is the inverted tree of life. If you look at the glyph, right, in Kabbalah, and you know, I'm sure you could get some really good gematria going if you did a show just on the tree of life glyph. You could probably get some crazy gematria that connects to a lot of new things. I covered it
in my first book.
I haven't read your first book yet. I did go and I printed it all out at FedEx. I got it in a nice binder.
You did something to your volume.
But I have not been able to read it yet. But what I'm saying is the next step, when you get into the clip-off and you understand demonology and black magic and how it all works, a lot of them are Satanists and Luciferians at the very top of the pyramid, right? And you can be a Jew and be a Luciferian. You can be a Freemason and a Luciferian. You can be a Christian and a Luciferian, right? People can be whatever they want. But at the end of the day, these guys controlling the money markets, controlling entertainment, porn, all that, like the comment you read there, right? And the guy's saying Jews, and it is true, Jews run the porn industry. It is true, Jews run the entertainment. These are all Jewish guys.
How many
right?
ciphers
So
is pornography?
If you're the chosen people and you believe in God and you believe in, you know, this the higher cause. Why are you running the porn industry? So I understand that criticism against Jews like that, right? Because they overrepresent positions of power in those industries. So I can see why, like the comment you read, where that guy is just blaming Jews with the, the 3 parentheses and all the, the code and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's clip off, it's demonology, it's Satanism and Luciferianism. And when you learn to astral project
Now, hold
as
on,
a
let's pause
magician
right there.
in the
Let's pause
circle,
right there. The founder of the Church
and you
of
can
Satan.
conjure demons, angels, and
on.
other disincarnate
Hold
entities,
on.
and use.
Okay, you can come back in a minute, but I can't stand people just keep talking. I'm letting you talk. Let me make a point. With regards to Satanism, is Anton LaVey's death synced up with some prominent Jew in the world? Because I know it's perfectly synced up with the Pope. He died 201 days from his own birthday and 201 days from the Pope's birthday. And who's 201 belong to? Big number with the Jesuits in their history. So.
Allah,
Okay.
where there's divine sparks trapped in material matter.
You didn't realize
And
that
the way
you'll
to
just read it
release
for
the
last 20
divine spark
seconds?
is by doing both good and evil. Right? And that's why it's important to learn Kabbalah. All of this is in the philosophy embedded within. But these guys are Satanists and they are Luciferians, the majority of them.
Okay.
And
Well, you just
that's
missed out
it.
that
I just
muted
want to
you
see
for
you
30
take that next
Oh
step.
my God, dude.
Because
Did you turn off your speaker?
I have sent you a few emails. You've
Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm getting rid of this guy. This guy's a moron. He's coming on here regurgitating what I already know, and he didn't just make a point. I mean, he just said, okay, yeah, fine, they're not all Jews. Okay, so then what is your point? What point are you making? Okay, I've been covering the clip-off, Kabbalah, all this for a long time, Anyway, does anybody else want to debate that can actually make the argument? Because really, he already won the argument for me. He conceded that they're not all Jews. Yeah, he probably is still talking. It's just like, what's wrong with people? I mean, can the guy not hear? Before he could hear. So nobody's going to come on and debate their point that they're always spewing? I don't understand how there's always these comments like in an instant of a video processing. It's like, boom, the comment's there. So it's like, okay, it feels like these people are always lurking and watching, but then every time I give them the floor to debate, they don't show up. Okay. All right, here, we'll see it. We'll see if maybe we can get somebody to debate by opening up the phone line. I actually did not open up the phone yet. But if you want to bring some kind of, again, I just want to hear somebody make an argument that makes sense. So we already know why he just lost his argument, because he conceded. It's not all Jews. Okay. The homesteader's calling. Homesteader, I appreciate what you're doing out there with the Kentucky homestead, but that's not what this stream's about. So I'm sorry, I'm not taking your call right now. Again, why are there so many people always trying to argue that the Jesuits are running the show when they clearly are? Where are these people who say they're not, and where's the good argument? 818.
Oh, hi. So I'm calling to say that I don't think it's all Jews. Is that kind of what the argument is? Can you reiterate it for me?
Well, essentially, that's people are saying that it's all Jews, and I'm arguing against that. So you're not really debating with me, but I suppose if you want to add on to my side of the debate, you can go ahead.
Okay, I'll add on that I don't think it's just the Vatican, and I don't think it's just the Jews. There are 3 city-states in this world that are controlling everything. Vatican City, City of London, which I think you overlook a lot. I think you should dig.
How do I overlook it when I've covered it in both my books and made the point numerous times? And remember that what they just did with the City of London with the pandemic, it was while the bank was 325 years old, which is the huge number with the Scottish Rite. And who created the Scottish Rite? The Jesuits did.
I'm talking about the fact that it was the cult of Mithras. I think that there are 3 states. We have DC, we have the City of London, and we have Vatican City. Those 3 city-states are controlling the world. They have diplomatic immunity within those city-states. They have ambassadors and people that can go in freely and nothing is watched. And I think that those 3 city-states work in conjunction to each other.
I've been making the same point all these years. And again, what connects those 3 cities? What connects those 3 cities? London, what used to be a strategic trading military post by the Romans. You got Roman architecture all over DC. It's the Scottish Rite Jesuit city. Again, like I just made the point, the bank was 325 years old when it got that massive, these massive loans for the COVID scam. So, I mean, you had the Jesuit Scottish Rite fingerprints all over it. I mean, who else are you going to say would be performing rituals by those numbers? Just like what I'm pointing out with Michael Jackson and the moon mission. They take the Scottish Rite flag to the moon in a big Jesuit ritual 325 days after the moonwalker's birthday. These same numbers are all over history.
I completely agree with you, but you do harp more on the Jesuits than the other 2 city-states, especially Washington, D.C., but they're all completely occulted. They go back to ancient.
But who controls those 3 city-states is the point I'm making to you.
I'm sorry, what?
Who controls those 3 independent city-states?
I mean, at this point, I don't know. I don't know if it's people or entities, because these people at the highest levels seem to be bowing down to entities. I mean, they want consciousness supplanted into robots. I mean, what the hell is all this? Is it just people, or are they in relationship with something higher than what we're aware of?
Well, that's a fair question. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question definitively. It could be like they live.
Yeah. I mean, there's something going on that's extremely questionable, and the only issue I have, and I am a believer in the Bible. I'm not religious by any means. I think religion has been overtaken by really disgusting people. But if you read the Bible, it warns us there'll be a great deception, that, there's going to be this time where the world joins forces and there's one world leader and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, the whole thing is, it seems like there's a higher level of entity that is in communication with different people, whether it's through religion on one side or occult groups from ancient paganism on one side. But it seems that anybody with power in this world has some connection to something that's not human.
Yeah, I don't deny the possibility of that. It wouldn't surprise me at all if that was the case. I'm just making the point, though, in terms of the secret societies, their fingerprints are all over the 3 independent city-states.
And you've made that point so well. I mean, you really woke up to the Jesuit aspect of it. But sometimes I get a little annoyed when you're harping on just Christians being bad, and I do agree with you. I mean, Pat Robertson is sporting all the Masonic symbols, and I think that there's people within every group that are clean. I mean, we're all in some group when we're born, just by our families. I mean, there's some kind of mindset that we're being taught.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, can we wake up and join forces and say, at the end of the day, do we want to be controlled by criminals, or do we want, I'm willing to have an honest discussion with anybody who disagrees with me, but we need to be on the same plane, on the same ground, standing on the same ground, not like, whatever's going on right now, which is just like, they want us to fight each other, but the people at the top have us all in compartments where we're fighting each other based on religion, or you're a conspiracy nuthead, or you don't believe in science, or blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, they just tear us down with all of this nonsense.
Right. I hear that. So, all right.
But I don't want you to start. That's the only thing I have issue with you, is I feel like you've come to a point where you're like, oh my God, nobody's following me, nobody's listening to me. You are having an effect, And, you know, the first person that cracked my mind open was Jordan Maxwell. I was 16 years old. He was in my house putting up the drywall, and he was taking time out to show me the money and say, oh my God, the Masons are running the world. And for 2 weeks, he was at my house, and I spent 2 hours with him a day while he talked to me, and he made a huge, he made a huge mark on my life. And just because you don't see the fruit of everything you're doing doesn't mean you're not making a change in the world.
Oh, sure. I mean, most of my frustration is just with all the censorship, because I used to be able to reach a lot more people 6 years ago, and it sucks it being 6 years later and the work being a lot better than it was back then, but having a much smaller audience. So anyhow, I appreciate the points you made. There's another person in line who wants to get in. Okay, one last thought. I'll give you 30 more seconds, then I got to let the next person on.
I'm just saying it's not the quantity, it's the people that actually get it and move on and plant more seeds. So you can reach more people, but they don't get it. They don't listen. So you're doing a good job. Don't lose heart. That's the point of what I'm saying to you.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
I'm always amazed by how many people like come on and like tell me to do something that I'm just like, man, I've already done a lot on that subject. Have you checked out the information I put out on that? But yeah, somebody just said cover Scientology. I mean, we've covered Scientology in the past. See how it goes with the Jesuit order. Okay, Maximilian, what's up?
What's up, Zach?
How you
Thanks
doing?
for. I'm good, man. Thanks for letting me on. So it's been a few years. Remember 2018 when the Cumbre Vieja went into eruption?
What happened in
Of course.
2018? The volcano
Yeah.
in Europe?
Of course, provoked, unnatural catastrophe. There was this. I don't know if I can say this Israeli-owned fracking plant beneath it. It had some sort of role in igniting Cumbre Vieja at the time, but I just want to hear, maybe if your pattern recognition starts to go off beeping, with this, with some of the numbers on the volcanoes name, the islands name of the Canary Islands, there's lots of predictive programming for it as well, with there's a Simpsons episode. It's season 14, episode 15, when Mr. Burns, he appoints his canary bird as the legal owner of the fracking plant, and Bart spins the fake globe, and the canary bird puts its beak on the Canary Islands, and this island, Cumbre Vieja, or the La Palma Island, one of the Canary Islands, is depicted without this piece of land that would fall into the sea. And it's very, very obvious that, but as you know, Mauna Loa went into eruption here a couple of weeks ago, and also on Big Island, of course. I'm from Denmark, you guys know, but the US will get hit in any case, Atlantic or Pacific, Hawaii or Canaries. And I'm sure Rambo has, lots of Rambo's videos. The World Cup is all about Morocco would be the first country to be hit by the Canary tsunami. And I have done.
Friend, I appreciate it, but this is off topic. I'm going to take another call to see if it's on topic. But you can stay in the back room. You can stay in the back room. If nobody else calls in, I'll come back to talk about this. But I got what you're talking about up on the screen. What's up, yeah, right? Yeah, mute that video.
I just had to call in, man. It's a little off topic, but goddamn, our people. This is how I'm so frustrated with society. Even people that are so-called awake and in the community, do they fucking listen? How clear have you been on who you want to call in? And I'm probably a hypocrite right now, but people are still calling in, and you're telling who you want to call in. It just blows. It literally blows my mind. I can't figure it out. And this always happens. Like when you do these type of topics, people call in about shit that you're not even talking about. It's like, are they even paying a little bit of attention? It just blows my mind. I had to call in. I'm just so, people are just beyond stupid. And even people that are so-called awake and in the truth community, I mean, they're starting to fall under that category, because just like the one guy, I mean, was this guy even, he just literally wouldn't shut the fuck up. You had to literally hang up on him and then cut him off. And he's probably still talking right now.
Yeah, I know. It's like, what is going on, man? Does he not hear that I'm trying to say something? He just keeps talking.
And then people keep calling in, talking about shit that has nothing to do with what you're talking about. It blows my mind, honestly. I just can't figure it out to save my life.
Well, that's been going on every time I try to do a live stream for all the years, and I'm just like, what is with people calling in off topic, man? It is weird. I think it's because a lot of people are just desperate to they know this is a platform where you can get on and get your voice out there, but it's like, you guys could also start your own YouTube channel. So
I know, I just hear it all the time. So I was like, I'm literally writing this shit. I'm like, I can't believe people cannot get it, and you're being specific on what you want to talk about, and people are still calling in. And there's plenty of other days where you can call in. I just don't get it. I just had to put my 2 cents in. It literally, I'm frustrated like listening to this shit, because you're literally telling what the topic is, and people are calling way left. Like the caller just called, no offense, but goddamn, what the fuck was he talking about?
He was talking about the volcano that could erupt, because he's saying it could erupt next year.
I mean, this is mind blowing, man. But yeah, like I'll let hopefully someone calls and is on topic and is gonna debate you. So let me get off, but I just had to call it because that shit frustrates me.
Okay, well, yeah, it frustrates me too, man. That's why, I mean, how many times have I just ended a live stream and I'm like, okay, all I can get is off topic here? Come on.
Yeah, and no offense to anybody who calls in, but it's just, goddamn, there's other days free to call, but I mean, it's just ridiculous. But all right, Zach, man, peace, and I'm listening. I'm in the chat.
All right, appreciate it.
All right,
thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing that's frustrating to me is I don't know if it's bot accounts or just like trolls really are just like ballless losers, but like it seems like they're here right away. As soon as the video processes, like almost always the first comment that's left is some BS comment. So I'm like, okay, they're always out here watching, but then they won't come on and debate. Is there anybody that wants to debate the point? For the 1,000 people that have left the comment that it's not the Jesuits, okay, tell me why we got the Jesuit rituals every day, day in and day out. The phone line's also open if you want to do it. 509-560-4982. Tell me where it isn't the Jesuits. People got their hands on sports, politics, news, entertainment. They got their signature on everything. By the way, I am supposed to do an interview tonight. Hold on. While I wait to see if somebody calls in, let me tell you the name of the channel I'm doing the interview on. The bad news is nobody asked me to do an interview in forever, so I said yes, but then I went to their channel and they were doing a live stream. It's like a panel of them, but I was the only person in the live stream watching things. I'm like, oh, great. So now I'm going to do an interview with people that on a channel that nobody watches. Well, what's up, 713?
Hey, what's up, man? I just wanted to stay on topic and call in because, that last dude did have a good ass point. I don't really leave messages. This is my second time calling in, but I do feel like there is something beyond the Jesuits that this practice has been going on even further because of the calendar creation and stuff like that. So I feel like the practice has been going on for even further than just the Jesuits have been around.
Well, of course.
You know what I mean?
I've always made the same point. It didn't start with the Jesuits. They're just taking on the tradition that came before them. They're using the cabalistic knowledge that's been what the ruling class has been using going back to Babylon.
Right, or Phoenician times or however, whatever the longest amount of times are. So, I mean, but I guess, I I can't deny that all the number rituals all align with the Jesuits. But like, is there any other matching stuff? Because I haven't been watching it for that long. But like, is there any other matching stuff that like connect to the Jesuits that connect back then though? Is what I'm kind of curious about. Like way back in the time of like Babylon, for example.
That's the opening chapter in my first book, Letters and Numbers. How it all goes back to Babylon, and how what number connects it all.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, check it out. Chapter 1, Letters and Numbers. All right, appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right, you have going on.
831, what's up? 831.
Hey, Zach, can you hear me? It's Alex Winter.
What's up, Alex?
Hey, Zach, how you?
You got the floor. What's going on, Alex?
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Can you hear me, Zach?
I hear you.
So, okay, so really quick, I just wanted to mention this in regards to the number 56. It won't take me very long here. If you could just give me like a minute. I found this information on Encyclopedia Britannica, and basically this was in regards to Roman King Pompilus was his name, and the number 56. So real quick, in order to sync the calendar with the lunar year, the Roman king Numa Pompilus added January and February to the original 10-month calendar. The previous calendar had 6 months of 30 days and 4 months of 31 days for a total of 304 days. So Numa chose February, a month that would be Sorry about that, Zach. So, however, Numa wanted to avoid having even numbers on his calendar, as Roman superstition at the time held that even numbers were unlucky. He subtracted a day from each of the 30-day months to make them 29. The lunar year consists of 355 days, 354.367 to be exact. But calling it 354 would have made the whole year unlucky, which meant that he now had 56 days left to work with. In the end, at least 1 month out of the 12 needed to contain an even number of days. This is because of the simple mathematical fact: the sum of any even amount of odd numbers will always equal an even number. And he wanted the total to be odd. So Numa chose February, a month that would be host to Roman rituals, honoring the dead as the unlucky month to consist of 28 days. Despite changes in the calendar, as it was altered after Numa's additions, alterations that include the addition of a leap month and eventually the modern leap day, and 28th day length has stuck. February was moved between, so that was basically in 452, King Pompilus. I just thought that information might be useful to some people.
Okay, appreciate it.
So, I mean to bother you, Zach. Keep up the good work. Keep doing what you do. Don't let anyone talk shit or do anything.
All right. Well, thanks for the history lesson. Appreciate that.
Have a great day, bro.
Yeah, you too. Take care. Okay, we got somebody new in the room. Jake. What's up, Jake?
What's the topic?
The topic's in the video title.
I mean, I'm working and I'm listening. What's the topic? I did catch up on the video where you did the North Carolina and all that. That was good to be able to refer to something 2013 and be able to show people that, hey, this is how long ago, and look, he was talking about it, and look how it happened.
Right. That's been going on the whole time I've been here.
Yeah,
so.
That's the point. But it's like, like, do you have anybody backing up your work, you know, like archiving it or something? Because it's like, you know, you need that to refer to sometimes, you know, because the streams, you go looking for something and it's 4 hours long and you're like, man, where did you get it? But I do got a tip for people. If you're listening to something that's real good, just screenshot that time, you know, and save it in your phone or whatever. But I thought you wanted to do something with the flat earthers, like, you know, get them to maybe go back and forth. That if that was on a video two days ago, you said you wanted to do that with the hater hotline or whatever. So I thought that's what this was, but it looks like it's trying to play the devil's advocate for the Kabbalah or whatever that lady was fucking talking about.
No, again, people say that the Jesuits aren't running anything and I'm gatekeeping for Judaism. So that's what the debate's about. That's also what's in the title, and that's where it started at the beginning. So again, when you open up a video and you don't know what's going on, you can drag that red bar to the beginning and watch the beginning, and then you'll know what's going on. So
yeah, makes sense. But I get like 20 more seconds.
20 more seconds.
It's kind of off topic, but like with the flat earther thing, I'm not religious, I'm not a flat earther or nothing, but it's like I remember we were talking about a while ago how we're like, we don't, if these people actually die, we don't even know if they go somewhere else or something. So I think like a lot of the people in the flat earth aren't really like, imagine you got a pond and it's a bunch of lily pads and like we're in this little pond right here and this is what's going on, and then these people die, but then they really go over here, you know, and then it just goes all over the place. Like, I don't know what you think about celebrities and bodysuits and stuff. It's like first we had Gorilla Girl
Hold
hair,
on, Phoenix.
and then now we got the Gorilla the rapper. That's like, what the fuck is the mockery?
All right, we're going into a whole new territory that this stream isn't about. All right, thanks, Jake. 623, what's up?
Hey, Zach. My name's Lucas. I've been listening to you for a while. Really wanted to thank you for everything that you've done for the community and waking people up. But just to play devil's advocate, I definitely did read the title of the video. I think that's helpful. What if the Jesuits are not necessarily in control? What if they're they've just divined a way to control the code itself? What if the code is basically something that it's always existed before even Babylonians? But they're just the ones who have found a way to weaponize it against the masses and also to harness the masses using a code that is already embedded within everything we do anyway.
So like, for example, let me make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. There's this code, there's this like organic matrix that's been taking place this whole time, and there's this number of power, like 144, for example, and they said, you know what, we're going to create our order based around this number 144, and then we'll harness its power. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Kind of. I've been doing my own research on this before I ever found you. That's how I found you, is just going through and researching different things myself. Because I agree with what you're saying, that they've taken parts of the number, but I think it's more of that organic life is a prerequisite to AI. That AI itself cannot. It finds a way to replicate. Like, our planet is not the only planet that has intelligent life on it and things of that sort, but the seed of AI, the seed of the I don't know, galactic, intergalactic, whatever intelligence has to be organic, because it derives from a signal that technology cannot, it can't tap into it on a normal basis. Like, there's not going to be some sort of satellite dish on Earth that's going to get the signal, but there is something embedded in all of us that is that code, kind of like DNA. But even we can't quite get to it yet. But that's what you're scratching the surface of with Gematria. That Gematria is actually it's part of the original code that is bringing us forward into AI. As you see it now, AI is one of the most scary things that we are dabbling in right now, and it could be the downfall of organic life as a whole. So the code itself that we're seeing with Gematria could just be the rudimentary code of our own downfall as an organic society. And these people it automatically makes you feel like there's something evil about them. And that's also the same feeling that people get out of AI sometimes as well. That there's something so cold and something so inhuman about it that it's a threat to us right away. And that's why you've worked so hard to expose it, is because you feel that. You feel that there's something evil underlying that.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting theory. I won't say that it's wrong. It's just the way I look at it is I see people constantly manipulating other people. And I mean, look at news media every day. If there was just something taking place, I don't see why you would need news media to bombard people's minds with propaganda each day to steer them a certain way. You know what I mean? I don't see why you'd have to.
Yeah.
I don't see why you'd have to set up all these rituals that they do. Things like the Lockerbie ritual yesterday. It's like, it feels like there's a ruling class that likes to play games over humanity and manipulate humanity and thumb their nose at humanity because they have knowledge that other people don't. So
that's true. And I thought about why they would do the rituals, and the rituals might be kind of like gardening. Like, like when you have a hard drive, or when you have a system or a garden or anything, you have to have gardeners. You have to have antivirus software. You have to have certain types of things that are set in place to make sure things don't go erratic. Make sure your weeds aren't growing over your yard. Make sure your hard drive isn't fragmented. Make sure you don't have viruses that are running in the background. These might be ways that they're weeding out erroneous code or erroneous activities that could actually gunk up their control over society. Like censorship, like taking your channel down 24 times. These could be the ways that they're weeding out erroneous code that could get in the way of their domination.
Sure. Yeah, I suppose that's possible. I mean, you make interesting points, so it could be something like that.
That's just the way that I was thinking about it, because what you're asking is like, oh, how are the Jesuits not running it? And my feeling is like, I'm not trying to go against you saying that, because it lines up, but that as a way of not arguing with you, but also kind of deepening the conversation. It could be the Jesuits just outright, but what if they're just harnessing something that's deeper than that? What if they're just harnessing something that it's underlying, is within all of us, and they've just found a way to kind of tinker with it and take out the people and take out the messages that are gonna maybe mess that up for them.
Yeah, that's a possible theory. So I think those are some interesting things to ponder on. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man, and appreciate everybody in the chat. Thanks for hanging out.
All right, yeah. Thanks, man. Take care.
Bye.
And just a reminder, I mean, he's saying that's what Chris Geo thinks too, that there's some kind of AI that ultimately runs everything. But, it's technology oriented. We know the Jesuits are big in the tech industry. And is there some kind of, some people think it's alien, some people think it's demon. Is it them that hovers over the Jesuits and has them fulfill the rituals that we see? I mean, all that stuff's possible. But ultimately, my point is, if you got to keep peeling back layers of the onion, there's this huge layer of the onion that's, from what we can see, that's doing the manipulation, and it's clearly Jesuit. The only way to me that you're ever going to get the answer from what could be behind the Jesuits or even manipulating the Jesuits and making them do the things that we're exposing day after day is to get enough people to investigate and look further in and, create the buzz on campus. Imagine if every Jesuit campus was buzzing about this Gematria thing and the Jesuits. And then, because I guarantee there's some professors at these campuses that know a thing or two. The only way we're going to get to the answers and the theories like what he just said is, peeling back the onion more and more. And I don't know how to do that unless you put pressure in the right places. We had somebody join the chat who has the handle Yay, and I'm guessing it's the same person who just came under the other channel. Yeah, I agree. That person who was just in here, Jake, it did sound like the troll from yesterday. And I have a feeling it's him again under this new channel name. But yeah, I don't know. I guess just nobody's ever going to debate with me. I feel like I'm not ever going to get a real debate. So, and ultimately, I was challenging the people who say it's just Jews. It's not. Here, I know what to do, actually. Rather than go to Ye, who's definitely going to be a troll, let's call the ADL real quick. Here, let me call the local chapter of the ADL, because quite frankly, I'm sick of getting censored. Let's see what's kosher with the ADL.
Thank you for calling ADL's Pacific Northwest Regional Office serving Alaska, Idaho, Montana, Oregon, and Washington. Our normal business hours are from 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., Monday through Thursday, and from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Friday. We are currently working remotely, but frequently checking our voicemail. If you know your party's 5-digit extension, you may dial it now. To report a hate incident or learn more about local programs, press 1 for Stephen Paolini. To reach our regional director, Mary Cypers, press 2. For all other inquiries, press 3. To return to the... You have reached Mary Cypers. Please record a message after the tone.
Hi, Mary. My name is Zach Hubbard. I'm an author, and I'm also a YouTuber, and I get a lot of my content taken down for hate speech. And I don't feel that I do hate speech. I just feel that I put good information out there. And recently, a video that I lost for hate speech was saying that it wasn't right for Kanye West to blame all Jews, and that he needed to be more specific because there's people of all religions and faiths and even atheists, all different kinds of people that conspire against humanity. But from my research, a lot of those who are doing the conspiring are Jesuits. And of course, there is a Jewish component to the Jesuit history. And if you can call me back, I'd like to know why it's hate speech. Because again, YouTube is following your leadership at the ADL for what to take down. But I would like to know, why is it hate speech when I specify that Kanye West should focus more on Jesuits rather than Jews? And again, is it hate speech to point out things like Larry Silverstein buying the World Trade Centers right before they came down and the dancing Israelis who were sent back to Israel? Is it hate speech to bring up historical facts? So if you could please give me a call back, the number is 509-560-4982. Again, fair points that I do make, and I do feel that they're fair points, but the videos get taken down for hate speech as you have, Sandy Hook, the parents of Sandy Hook. Several of them are Jewish who are in the media often, who are kind of leading a war against the First Amendment and also the Second Amendment. So again, I don't feel like those are good optics for Jewish people. And I think that is why there's a lot of people who blame Jews for everything. But as I'll often point out, behind all of these rituals are the Jesuits.
To send, press 1. To erase and re-record, press 2. To listen to the record, message sent. Thank you. Goodbye.
Well, I only got to get in part of my message, but maybe we'll get a call back. Who knows? But yeah, seriously, like that is the kind of stuff that gets taken down for hate speech, and it is annoying. So anyway, the ADL apparently doesn't take live calls anymore. All right, so we got more people in the room by the channel name Some Guy and Zach, and I'm guessing both of them are trolls as well. Yeah, again, I don't really want to bring trolls on because trolls just make everybody's ears bleed, but yeah, I really feel like it's bot accounts or trolls. I don't really have any real critics in the world. I feel like that's the truth. I have no real critics in the world. I have people who are closed-minded, bots, and trolls. There's nobody that wants to have an honest debate. So all right, I'll give the trolls a real quick opportunity to make a point just in case I'm wrong. Some Guy, what is it, Some Guy?
Hey, can you hear me okay?
I hear you.
So I'll debate you. I actually agree with most of your conclusions, but I think some of your logic is a little bit flawed, and I can hold the position of devil's advocate if you want.
Sure. Actually, you sound decent, so go ahead.
Okay, so can you just lay out your premise?
Did you get here late?
No, I just want to be able to, when I attack it, I want it to be like, I want to know what your premise is fully. I know what you generally said, but I want to just like have your premise, and then I'm going to attack it.
Okay. So again, I was largely responding to the latest comment, which echoes 1,000 comments that came before it, that the Jesuits are not the spearhead of world affairs and the manipulation of humanity, and that it's just Jews. And I'm saying that I don't think that that's the right argument. I think it is the Jesuits. There could be something behind the Jesuits, but I don't know how you can argue that it's just Jews, and that's a better argument than the Jesuits in light of what I'm exposing day after day. And like I said, if it was the Jews running the world, why aren't we on their calendar? Why are we on the Catholic Church's calendar?
Okay, so your premise is that the Jesuits are running the world, right? And it's not the Jews? That's your premise?
It's not to say that there's not a Jewish component of the world leadership and manipulation. The argument is that the spearhead is the Jesuits.
And then your evidence is what?
Everything I've been presenting for years, including everything that I just began this stream with, just to show the latest manipulation of the minds of the world from the past week's news.
So the Jesuits are controlling the world, and your evidence is the encoding of the language Gematria. That's your premise, right?
And how ritual after ritual synced with the superior general, the leader of the Jesuits, the Pope, synced up with the calendar that's their system, synced up through the English language, which they've spread across the world, which is a language credited to a Catholic monk.
Okay, so all right, so that's two things. So you have ritual, and then the main premise is that the Jesuits are running the world, and they're using Gematria. Tell me if I'm wrong. The Jesuits are running everything, and they're using Gematria to encode.
I'm moving on to the next guy. How annoying is that guy? My God, dude. If you call into debate, then you should know what the debate's about. Okay, let's see. Is this guy a troll too? The guy going by Zach, what's up?
Definitely not a troll. So, it's the Gematria is so sophisticated. It's like they say.
Hold on. I'm going to come back to you. I might be getting the call back from the ADL. Let me check this. Hello?
Hey, Zach. So, I wanted to bring forth a perspective that I've had for a while, and it's about this plan, this idea of a takeover plan that is supposedly happening right now in the 21st century. So, obviously, religion is a big part of it, and Jews and Catholics have their part. Of course, there's the Jesuits. Can't deny that. However, there's a reality here that I think people are overlooking, and it's partly the Christian world that's doing it, and it's really sad. So, in my perspective, reading the Bible, it's obviously been rewritten, and the original manuscripts have come from, maybe even first century, second century, and they've been rewritten. All of the Bible has been completed. We're living in a manufactured reinstatement, re-illustrated, reenacted idea of what this end time scenario will look like. And they're playing it out for us. It's clear as day. So that's my perspective. Christians think that they're going to be saved, not necessarily what the case is. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can't argue the players in place, but obviously the Jesuits. It's the Catholic hand. It was Rome. They had their hand in the first century. If you read the Bible in the perspective that what was happening during this hijacking in the first century is what we're actually reenacting today. This idea of some end time scenario. It's really interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Bible obviously was rewritten and re-illustrated to some worldly event. Well, if we really want to read the Bible correctly, we have to understand it from an Old Testament perspective. And so what we're looking at today is just this idea, this carnal idea of what they think it's supposed to look like with this, end time scenario. It's really sad. And that's ideally what all of the religions together are trying to reenact. I mean, why is it that everybody's afraid of a beast system that's going to come in and visualize our money and put us all on, this idea that, can't buy and sell? It already happened. It already happened in the first century. And so they're remaking it, they're redoing it. This is a rescript of history. And it's obviously they're going to make it bad. I mean, there's no lie about that. They're going to make it look like it's some catastrophic, ugly thing. And yeah, there's some ugly people that are at play. Obviously, there's people that, don't care for humanity and want to eliminate us. But has there always been that throughout all of history? I mean,
so it sounds like you're saying because it's all happened before, we can just live through it again. And my problem with what you're saying is, yeah, that there is a power structure that's been in place for a long time that continues to manipulate people and diminish their quality of life. And this is why we need to break this system and stop living within it.
The only way to do that, Zach, is to build your own community. Is to create your own type of barter system outside of the concept of trade. So, back in the first century, the Roman rule mixed with whoever, the Jews at that time, created the Silk Road. That was their first, outside of the first century, that was their first initiative to get this taxation on the people. And they did it through religion. They did it through scaring people. They did it through colonizing the New World. Because back then it was a new world, just like they call it the New World now. I mean, every century it's a new world, in a sense. The industrial change, society changes, and they just look for ways to capitalize. We've never not been slaves to this concept of borrowing money and being in debt and feeding into a bigger system. I mean, how do you get out of that? Don't be part of it. Create your own community. That's it.
Well, that's easier said than done. And part of the problem that's so hard to create your own community is because you live in a world where, again, rules exist. And if you go against those rules, then you end up in a cage. So.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's actually even doable. I don't even know that I've seen a community do it outside the Amish.
Well,
I don't know
then maybe that what you proposed is the only way to do it isn't the only way to do it. Again, I think what has to be done is people have to stand up and fight and destroy the system that's in place, and then make sure nothing like that ever comes back again. So,
has it ever happened?
Has it ever happened?
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. There's been uprisings and overthrowing. I mean, it has happened. So.
Okay, but when that happened, what was the result of it? A new system was formed, new rule, new governance, new powers.
But it might have been a different system that's better and more tolerable. I imagine I would have done a lot better with the Native American tribal lifestyle than this one.
Maybe, and that's what I said. That's what I was comparing, like maybe the Amish. Like I don't know if that's better, if their quality of life. I know that it's better now today than it was 2,000 years ago. I mean, clearly it's better today than it was 1,000 years ago. I mean, we can.
I don't know about any of that. All right, appreciate it, caller. Thank you. Okay. She thought she was more interesting than she was. Here, let me go back to Zach. She had the right area code from where I just called the ADL, so that's why I was thinking it might have been the ADL calling back. Okay, Zach, you're back on.
That woman was funny. So if it's so sophisticated, so we know, we have an idea of who's controlling it, but if we get a room full of people and put faces to them, what do you think they actually do? Like, do you think, like, how do they script it all so perfect down to the weeks, to the days, to this? Well, we're gonna make this happen on this day or that day, or do they have an outside source or some kind of supercomputer that just spits it out and makes it? Because wouldn't it just take for one of them to slip on a banana peel and they've, like, someone's lost the knowledge, you know?
Well, I mean, things can be planned. That's the point of having a calendar and dates and a way to keep track of time and structure rituals. So
They've been
not that hard
for,
to do, but yeah, a computer could also help with planning.
yeah. Another thought I had, this is kind of off topic, but I just wonder how many people in the chat remember when 9/11 happened. If they were in school, did you have a TV in your classroom? Because I remember prior to that, we had the roll around TVs, but right before 9/11 happened, throughout the whole city, every classroom got their individual TV. And it's like 20 years later, now people only believe, well, I seen it on TV. That was the first big thing to get the next culture to believe the idiot box, to believe what comes through the TV because you've seen it on TV. And it's almost like that was the propaganda, the predictive programming to indoctrinate them. That was the most important part. It wasn't about school. It was about that. How else would you paint that narrative in younger minds? Because they're gonna go home and they might have parents who don't give two shits. But if you've seen it in school, you're like, I remember that was real, but you don't really know. Yeah, it happened, but you don't know why it happened. And then 20 years, you're just looking
hold
at
on,
the
hold on.
news.
Are you the same guy yesterday that was saying that you saw that on the TV, Jay the Youngin was killed in street beef? Aren't you the same person?
Does it matter?
Yeah, you are. So you were all caught up in the TV news story yesterday. Okay, next. What's up, E?
Well, you hung up on me, and I was actually debating you. So I don't know why you did that.
How were you debating me?
Because I was setting up your premise. But I'll just assume what your premise is. So,
well, I'd expect that somebody's going to call in and debate. They would know what I was talking about, not have to rehash it.
It's a formal way to debate. It's a formal way to debate. Okay, so just because there's encoded numbers that align that correlate with the same coding as the Jesuits doesn't mean that the Jesuits did it. If I break into your house and leave a note that says your neighbor did it, that doesn't mean that your neighbor did it. Do you get my point? Just because I there's numbers doesn't mean that the Jesuits did it. Now, I tend to actually agree with most of your conclusions, but that's not technically proof that the Jesuits did anything at all. It's just a message left behind, and it could be left behind by anybody.
So Jesuit Georgetown simulated the election 144 days before it happened, simulating that Biden would narrowly win. And of course, President Biden, Jesuit Order 144. So who did it?
They did the simulation, but the encoding of the language, like the encoding the numbers, you have no proof that they put the numbers there. So they did the simulation.
But hold on, I want you to give me a better argument. So in the 16th century, the Jesuits are created, the Gregorian calendar is established, and English is standardized with the spellings we use today, with the vowels we use today. All of those things happen in the 16th century, and it seems quite clear that the language and the calendar are in sync, just like how the word Pope equals 52, and we have a 52-week calendar named after the Pope. So who did it then?
I don't know. You can't, but you're making an assumption.
All right. Well, you have to make a better argument of who would have done that.
But why am I assuming that someone did it?
I'm not assuming. I'm saying that's where the facts lie. That's where all the data adds up.
So so then what's your evidence that they did it then? You're having a correlation, so correlation doesn't equal causation. You've heard that
The
before,
fact
right?
that the historical timeline's there, the fact that you can continue to look at how all of these rituals are coordinated with their institutions, their figureheads, their superior general.
Yes. That doesn't mean that they did it though, because I can break in your house and like leave around evidence that like the Crips broke in your house. I'll leave a bandana, a gun, and some crack, and then I'll leave a note that says you better not mess with the Crips again, like that doesn't mean that the Crips did it, right? I broke into your house and did it. That's just a correlation. So you're making an assumption.
The oldest English script is credited to a Catholic monk.
Okay.
The language and the calendar go back to the Catholic Church.
Okay.
They say the Templars came back with the knowledge of Kabbalah after the Crusades.
I know, but you're not.
They have the know-how. They have the ability. All of these things trace back to them. Make a better case for who's responsible for designing the system that we see playing out day after day.
So what you have there, that's reasonable suspicion. That's not. You don't have a motive. Like you don't have. So that's reasonable.
Well, the motive would be to control the world, which the Catholic Church is hell-bent on doing.
Yeah, it's still reasonable suspicion, though. The motive is there, yeah. But it's
when you have mounting evidence that piles up day after day,
but evidence
you
is
begin to make a strong case.
You when you see like a person who looks shady in the dark, you're a cop. You think that like this is out of place. He's standing here. There was a crime over there. I have reasonable suspicion that this guy might have done it. So I'm gonna inquire to see if I can figure out whether or not he proved it. You can't just jump to he did it. Like you have a really good suspicion that he's doing it or he did it. Like it fits. He has a motivation. He looks like he's homeless. He broke into the house to get money. Like it's not technically proof. So you have a reasonable suspicion. If you had documentation or you had a Jesuit that you caught like setting up a news article and like you found him with pieces of paper that had numbers on it with letters, like now you have even more evidence. And then also you have to have a crime. So it doesn't fit that sort of thing, but you don't technically have proof. You have reasonable suspicion. You have that they have controlled the world. So these are all correlations, but it's not proof, right? Because like you're just assuming that's the case. Like I said in another example, if I break in your house and leave around notes and paraphernalia of the Crips breaking in your house, you're going to assume that they broke in your house, but you have to prove it. And just because they have a note there, and
that would be one example. But again, the thing is, we're documenting the same stuff every day. We're using accurate predictions and forecasting based off the model and syncing it up with their leaders. Unless what you're saying is all throughout history, there's somebody. So what you're saying is, in the 16th century, the Jesuits had some nemesis that decided to make the language in tribute to them and their pope, so that for the next X amount of centuries, they could continue to perform rituals that someday somebody might figure out would get traced back to the Jesuits, so that they would blame the Jesuits for the wrongdoing when it wasn't really the Jesuits all this time, it was somebody else. But meanwhile,
that's not what I'm saying. No. That's a false dichotomy.
But hold on. No, we're talking about the federal government in D.C., where the Jesuits have been for longer than the federal government's been. And then again, while I might not have Gavin Newsom's writings about why he's going to say 56% or California is going to get COVID in 56 days as he locks down the state, as every other high-ranking Jesuit comes up with their own little 56 ritual all across the world. Again, it would be nice if I had Gavin Newsom, whose name equals 56, like Society Jesus. It would be nice if I had the memos and the notes for who instructed him to say 56% of California is going to get coronavirus in 56 days. But again, by having a brain, you can say, well, look, every last Jesuit, including Trump, where the COVID pandemic's declared 56 years after his Jesuit education began, by witnessing that, it seems pretty obvious that it's Jesuits who are executing the code by the numbers. I don't necessarily need the memo that was given to Gavin Newsom or Trump or Cuomo. It's there. It's obvious why Trump, the Jesuit, waited until the 56-date numerology to declare the pandemic for the U.S., as he did on March 13th, 2020, Friday the 13th, paying tribute to the Templars. Again, I mean,
okay, let me talk.
The day that we have somebody step up and say, you know what, that'd be the thing about not being censored. Like, imagine that this stream had 10 million people watching. That would create the motivation for somebody who had that memo, so they could make a name for themselves to be like, you know what, I'm coming on and spilling the beans. I can prove that Gavin Newsom was told to say that 56% in 56 days. The reason we don't have that is because of the same Jesuits that run big tech, which we also know are suppressing channels like mine so information doesn't get out. So again, you have to look at all the different angles and evidence and proof that we've been documenting for years consistently. And again, you could make the argument, well, yeah, you still don't have the memo in writing, which would be hard evidence. We don't have that yet. But again,
Yeah.
if we
So
had
what I'm saying is that
would.
What I'm saying is that you have reasonable suspicion, and I don't disagree. It's an assumption overall, though.
Okay, but also hold on. You're also kind of missing the point of the debate. The point of the debate is if it's not the Jesuits, then who is it? So make that argument.
But that's a false dichotomy. Now you're making me have
That's
to.
what the point of the argument is. People, again, I already told you that because people are coming here and saying it's not the Jesuits, it's the Jews, which is what the purpose of the debate is about.
Okay, so I'll take that position quickly, but I'm gonna have to get off quick. So let me just, I'll take that false dichotomy and I'll say it's the Jews. Okay, so the Jews created Kabbalah, and they created the oldest documentation of Gematria is in Hebrew, the Hebrew language, right? So they have the understanding and the know-how in the first place. They have the foundation of it. So to assume that and then like that comment left to you, and I don't agree like that it's all Jews or whatever, but like that comment that was left to you, it's a lot of Jews are in those Hollywood positions at the tops of companies, and they're in lots of power positions, and that's obvious, and we all know it. So it's a good assumption to think that, maybe, I'm not saying it's Israel, but maybe there is a mystery religion of Jews that are really tight knit, and they are running the show from the back, right? Because they're the ones that created the thing. So why wouldn't they be the best at it, right? And they have Hollywood, so they can put it in their shows, and they own the news, so they can put it in their news, right? All the top CEOs are of Hollywood and the news are of that descent.
Okay, appreciate the argument. And again, I would just summarize, if you start to look into all those Jews that are in high places, they all have Jesuit educations, and the Jesuits were created by Jews who converted to Catholicism. Thanks, Z. Have a good one. All right. He wanted to make one more point. All right, one more point. I heard you say one more point. All right, last point.
Yeah, what you just said, that Jews converted to Catholicism. I want you to give me one example of a Jew that converted to Catholicism, because I can't find
Diego
it.
Lainez, the second in command after Ignatius of Loyola died by the numbers. And he's not the only one, but he was the second superior general of the Jesuits.
Diego Lainez?
Yes.
All right, I'll have to look into it.
Yeah, and a lot of people think Ignatius of Loyola converted as well. That's up for debate. But Diego Lainez, there's no debate. So, all right. Let's talk Jaden. Please don't be the same person under a new account. Sounds like it is, because now you don't even want to talk.
You want me to make a point?
Well, if you know how to make a point about something, I'd just like to see if that's even possible. 30 seconds, make a point.
Okay, in the Pop Smoke ritual, if they found the 4 killers that were young, who are the cabal that reached down and said, hey, go do this at this certain time and do this and do that?
I don't want to hear this. Listen, when that Pop Smoke news broke on the 50th day of the year, I made the point that he had the same surname as 50 Cent. He looked like 50 Cent. And people came at me from all kinds of angles, say, "Ooh!" And then what happened? Pop Smoke's album gets put out after his death by 50 Cent. I don't want to hear about it. Just stop. Just stop. I mean, God. Yeah, and by the way, since you're there, just your point about Jay the Youngin. I forget how to spell this guy's name. Jay the Youngin. How do you spell it? Okay, again, dead on the date with 76 numerology and dead on 27/7, like 277, the 59th prime, and Slave Negro Blues Rasta with that 5976 encoding all over blank history. Look like a ritual to me. What's up? Is this Martin Webb?
Yes, Martin Webb. Hi, Zach. How you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. So there's a book recommendation I would like to make. I think this very strongly backs up your point. It's called Caesar's Messiah, and it's by Joseph Atwill. The subtitle is The Roman Conspiracy to Invent Jesus. So Mr. Atwill argues that Christianity is an invention of the Flavian dynasty, starting with Vespasian and following up with his son, Titus Flavius. If you read that book, you will see that Judaism is actually a Roman creation.
Interesting. Okay.
And Christianity is too. Yeah. So that really, really supports your argument. I very strongly recommend that you read that book. You could also look at some of Joseph Atwill's videos on YouTube. It's an incredibly powerful argument. I strongly recommend that you check it out. Zach, I also have a question. You often mention that the English language was started by a Catholic monk.
Burfirth.
The name of that
Burfirth. His name is in my first book, Letters and Numbers. Burfirth. It's like the year 1011 AD, the oldest known English script.
Excellent. Thanks, Zach. You know, I have your book. I'm probably one of the first people to have ever printed it out. I'm a very proud owner of that book, and your others too. So thank you very much. Great stream today.
You're welcome. Thank you, Martin. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
All right, take care. He's the only person who calls from Japan, so he just called the other day. The guy who just keeps changing his name and joining's now back under a new name. All right. Anyway, guys, I don't think I'm ever going to get the debate that I want to have, but yeah, and don't forget, you know, the closest I ever came to this debate was with Adam Green and No More News, and he deleted the whole live stream the very next day after we had the stream. And that, as far as I know, that's the only live stream he ever deleted. So I was like, why do you want to delete the stream we just had? Mr. Blame Israel. It's like, well, what was going on before Israel? Okay. Yeah, and what Martin Webb just recommended, looks like you can read the whole book in PDF form. Caesar's Messiah, Joseph Atwill, Atwill, just like it sounds. Always, are you Jewish? I'm definitely not Jewish. I can physically prove just how Jewish I am not. Okay. All right. Well, anyhow, we'll leave it there for now, True Seeker. I do have a live stream later tonight, and again, when they asked me to interview, I said yes without doing any research, and hopefully it's a good interview. But the thing is, they don't have an audience, and I'm trying to get the word out. And it's like, well, I appreciate the people that asked me to come on, but man, again, this is the channel, so I will be on here later tonight, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern is when it's supposed to happen. And maybe it'll be a good interview anyway. There's a panel of men, and yeah, I just checked out the channel the other night, and literally there were no people watching their stream. I thought, wow, they have a pretty professional looking setup. You think they'd have some viewers, but who knows? Maybe it'll be a good interview anyway. So if you guys want to check that out, the channel is called 40 Central. And I honestly couldn't even tell you what the channel's about. They just emailed and said, hey, we want to have you on for an interview. So I said, sure. Nobody's asked me to do an interview in forever. All right. We'll leave it there for now. If you guys want to tune in tonight, again, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern. And we'll leave it there. Till next time, True Seeker.